Evening, evening. This is your Friday edition of the Manchester United Agenda. A little Paul Pogba discussion. To my right, we have wrong side.
Omondi Juma, thank you, Mr. B, for the greeting. How are you?
Good man. Beside the Monday, we've got
OS. Great to see all of you again. Great to see you guys as well. And excited for this discussion.
Just below me, we have.
Well, thank God it's Friday. It's Big Phil here for One United Barbados.
And Rise, are you there, big man?
Yeah, how you doing?
How you doing, man? Good to hear from you. I can't say I can see you, but good to hear from you, man. Good to hear from you.
It's cool.
How you been? A long time, man.
Yeah, no, I've just been a bit busy, mate. You know, doing this, that, and the other. Loads of stuff going down.
I guessed. Well, without further ado, let's get this topic going. I'm going to start with Big Phil. Paul Pogba. I mean, some people say he's a maverick. Some people say he's not world class. Some people say he hasn't done enough for Manchester United. What's your opinion on Paul?
So in my opinion, right, I look at some of the midfield partnerships over the years that have been successful, right? You go back to Barcelona when Pep was in charge. You see that there was a partnership between, or there was at least some communication between the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, right? You go to the Real Madrid team that just won, not just one, but they were crowned champions of Europe 3 times in a row, right? There's some communication between Toni Kroos, Casemiro, Luka Modric, right? I think that we should keep and give Paul Pogba a new contract because I think him, Bruno, and a proper defensive midfielder can kind of emulate what, like, for example, what Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro or Iniesta, Busquets, those guys can emulate as well too, right? We have we have great players in Bruno and Pogba on our hands. We just need that piece of the puzzle in terms of a defensive midfielder, and I think that once we get those 3 midfielders communicating, we could emulate something great from Manchester United, not for just next season, but for seasons to come as well too, right? So that's just me.
I see you nodding in agreement right there in the background, OS. What have you got for me, big man? What's your take?
No, funny enough, I mean, everything that Big Phil just said there for me made sense. You know, like, I mean, like, if you guys watched the previous show, I mean, the thing with me, I want to make clear is I'm a big fan of Paul Pogba. Like, I see his qualities. Like, I'm not blind to that. Like, he's probably the most creative, the most, promising player we have. Like, he's got qualities. But the thing I'm hearing, because I don't know the deals and everything, but I'm hearing that, you know, he's asking for 500K a week. Like, I don't know how true that is. I don't know how not true that is. Do we really do that? Do we really give him 500K a week? And then the question that I will ask is, what has he done to warrant 500K a week in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? So that's the things that runs through my mind. Should we keep Paul Pogba? I think if we want to become a big team, we're a big club. If we want to become a big team, we need the best players. So, of course, we need a Paul Pogba. As Big Phil mentioned, we need a great defensive midfielder to let them shine as much as they can. But I always feel like every time we get to a summer, we're always being held ransom by Paul Pogba's agent, you know, and it's always that talk comes back like he's not happy. He wants to leave. And I get it from his point of view. If he doesn't feel the club are ambitious enough to buy the right players to make him star, then I would say he should leave, not because I don't appreciate what he can do, but because I appreciate his career. I'm worried that if he stays at Man United, he may not win any trophies for the coming few years unless, you know, we do what we need to do to the team. So I think I'm in the middle whether to give him a new contract or not because of this 500K thing a week I'm hearing. That's crazy. You know, that's really crazy. And also, he needs trophies. He needs to be winning the best trophies right now. And at Man United, it just seems like it's not ticking for him.
Rise.
Yeah, Pogba. Okay, so yeah, you know, we all know. Again, we all said it. We've all said it. He's got great ability. You know, whether he's world class, some people will argue. But for me, for United, I just think I've said it in that the stream that we were talking about. Should they stay? Should they go? And for me, we've got to let him. We've got to let him move on if we can move him on, because I don't see why we should pay to stand still. Because if we pay Pogba any more money than we're already paying him a week, we're paying to stand still, because we are not going to move forward. In my opinion, we have to let him go and let some of the younger players come through. Right? I know we're saying about the number 6, but we have to keep moving forward. We've got to move forward. Ollie is going to find himself in a predicament if he keeps hold of Paul Pogba. He's going to be constantly a thorn in his side. That is always constantly going to be trying to work out. We don't need that. You know, we're not. Mm-hmm. Why are we afraid to let him go? I don't get it. You know what I mean? Look at the players we've let go in the past, and we kick on. That's what we do. You know, we can't lose sight of what we are and who we are as a club. You know what? He's been there enough. He's had enough time for me. He's had enough players around him to be the player that we all want him to be. Not enough. Not consistent enough. You know, not consistent enough. And again, for me, I do not want to pay him, our club, to pay him any more money, because it's just ridiculous. And you know, we've got. There are other options out there in the footballing world that we can look at. Just, in my opinion, get him sold.
Wow. I'm on thee.
I'm Monday. I'm looking at you, mate. What's up?
They're not for you. Not for you. Talk, MU. It's
okay.
The OS. Okay. I had a chat. As you can see, Kelvin is in the comments. He's an Arsenal fan, and I rate him a lot. He has talks a lot of sense. He wants to come on the show and discuss Pogba. I believe Pogba and Man United, how we elevate our players, and outside of the club, most other fans don't really rate our players. I just want to make a few points about Pogba. I think Pogba is a gifted player and one of the most gifted players of his generation. We are currently watching football Euros, and he looks like the best player out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, I'm not going to get into the world-class argument for another show, OS. But what I will say is that we need to sign this guy up. If you pay him 500, whatever, that's what we do. When we bought Roy Keane, that was a record transfer. We paid him $8,000 a week. Everyone was like, wow, you know, amazing. You just have to go with the times. Pay the man the money. We're Manchester United. This is what we do. This is big club business. You guys acting like we're Liverpool and we're talking about net spend and tighten this and no, we can't do that. Since when? We're here to talk football. We're not here to talk about the what we're paying or this kind of thing. I don't see the correlation here. It doesn't make sense. I want Pogba in the side. The thing, and the media as well. I think we're often influenced by the media. Oh, he doesn't do. I've heard people say he doesn't deserve to play. He doesn't do this. I've got his stats up here. I've done my little homework. I've got his stats for Juve when everyone said he was playing well.
He's not playing at Juve. He's not playing at Juve.
Hold on. Let me finish. I've got his stats here for Juve, and I've got his stats here for Man United. They look identical. He was doing bits at Juve. He's doing the same thing at Man United. The only issue is in England, the spotlight is on him, and he's they're cussing him all the time. It's always negative. Nothing positive about this player. And like with Glenn Hoddle years ago, talented player, always negative with the English media. And they're talking about his hair, talking about his dancing, talking about he's not interested, all that kind of thing. We got Martial playing on our team. Focus on him. Don't talk about Pogba. Pogba's delivered far more than Martial in his career. So for me, it's a yes. The man from Del Monte says, yes, I want Paul Pogba in the team. Sign him up for those reasons.
Yeah,
don't be influenced by the negativity.
I'm on the fruit in the tin has now gone off, mate. It's gone off. It's turned. It needs to be refreshed. We have to refresh the fruit, otherwise no one's going to buy it. That's, we've got to move him now, in my opinion.
That's good. I'm not disrespecting you.
I think
it's a good
also,
you make good points.
I know. Also, the fact that is we've talked about the coaching. If this is a coaching issue for Paul Pogba, right? Then again, Ollie has also got another problem on his hands. From that point of view, it's a bigger problem than it already looks to us. If that's the case, so for me, he could do himself a favour by just removing that problem, and because Paul Pogba is a huge character.
And also, just to add to that, Monday as well, you're looking at his qualities, and I get that. I see the same thing you see. Like, he's one of the best players. When he's playing at his game, he's unplayable. I see that. The thing, though, is, can you honestly say, like, the last 6 years, the money he's being paid, the role he has at the team, and I understand the argument about the players playing around him. I get that. That's changed a lot. But can you honestly say what he's supposed to do for us? He's done half of that. Like, can you really, really say that? Like, because Pogba's supposed to be one of the best players in the world, right? It's supposed to be, from what we hear. We don't see those performances consistently. Eye test. We don't see those performances consistently.
You know what, OS? I'm going to pass this off to Mr. B and Big Phil.
Okay.
Shall I tell you why? Because I've made my point, and I'm not going to repeat it again. Okay? The same stats you see at Juventus, we're seeing at Manchester United. We're watching him now. Hold on. We're watching Euros, and we're all saying, wow, this guy playing looks good. But he's got Kante with him, and he's got better players around him. So we've got to build on that. We don't have Kante. But look who we got in our midfield to back him up. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Mr. B and Big Phil, back me up on this. I know you know this.
I can just make one point, right? I'm like when I'm playing golf, right? And it's just I'm there on my own, and I'm just the course is quite empty, quiet. You know what I mean? I'm like Nick Faldo, mate. I'm Nick Faldo. What, man? You know what I mean? Poof. I'm getting like proper scores. As soon as anybody else comes on that course and starts rushing me, my game goes to shit. That's the same with Paul Pogba. He can't do it in the Premier League.
Right. He's 100% right.
It is too fast a lead for him.
Can I?
Look at the Euros. It's played slower pace.
Can I?
Go on, Mr. B.
Okay. When Paul Pogba first came, I just thought we were getting a superstar. I'll be honest.
Same here.
I thought we were getting a superstar. I look at what Paul Pogba does for France, and like Amonde said, his record for Juve and us is virtually the same, bar maybe a couple of assists here and there or a goal here and there. It's virtually the same figures, goals wise. Total, it might be different in season wise, but the total is virtually the same. So, is it that we're expecting too much from Paul Pogba? What is it United fans expect from? Do they expect him to be playing at the back? Do they expect him to be playing forward? Do they expect him to be a box to box? It doesn't look like anybody's defining a role that Paul Pogba has. They say he played in this formation at Juve. He's played various formations for us, especially under Jose. Jose really tried to get, I'm not saying the team built around him, but he tried to get the best out of Paul Pogba, using him in various positions. Now, Ollie, to me, has got the best out of Paul Pogba, my opinion. Consistently, especially the last maybe 6 months. That could be down to the fact that, Raiola said he wants to leave, and Paul Pogba's mind is now free. He doesn't have that burden of thinking, how am I going to say it? Or it's out there in the open. Everybody understands. What I don't understand is that Paul Pogba said he wants to leave. If he wants to leave, we should have sold him. This is what I feel. We should have sold him. I do not trust the club to sell Paul Pogba and reinvest the money properly.
I get that.
That's my issue with selling Paul Pogba. So
I was just about to come to that, Mr. B, but you took the words right out of my mouth. Okay, we sell Paul Pogba, right? Because everybody wants to sell players, everybody wants to get rid of the manager, but the big question is, who do we replace Paul Pogba with, right? Yeah, I'm going to hold my hands and I'm going to join this meeting and say, okay, this is the meeting to sell Paul Pogba. Cool. Boom. We get 90 mil for him. Who do we go out there and who do we invest in? Right? That's
Yeah,
the
this is
first
again.
question you want. That's the first question you got to ask yourself because everybody wants to sell. Sure, let's sell. But who are we getting in return for it, right? I must also ask one more question, right? Do United look better with or without Paul Pogba in the team starting?
Can I want Rice to answer that one. Come and tell me, big man, what you got?
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you, Big Phil, mate. I was just
Oh no, I'll gladly repeat. I'll gladly repeat.
Go on.
My question was, do Manchester United Football Club look better with or without Paul Labile Pogba in the midfield when he's starting?
It'll look better or worse. Okay. Right, listen. All right, this is not an easy question. No, Phil, this isn't an easy question because
I'm listening. Yeah.
It can be answered simply, but then that takes away from the other issues. So I will say, okay, then the team looks better with him in there. However, if we're going to look at this as a whole and not just an individual person, then look at what's going on in front of him. If everybody's saying that Paul Pogba's doing his bit in his position, then that must mean then that everybody else ahead of him is not, because we are struggling to get the ball in the net. So somewhere in that lineup, there is big problems. So if we go back and analyse it properly and look at what's happened without Pogba and what's happened with Pogba, what are the goals that we've scored with him in? What are the goals that have we scored with him out? You know, how many chances have we created and not converted, etc. So they're big questions. But I still stand by what I said, that I think we, as a club, we've tried it now with Pogba, with two different managers. We have to go, right, okay, look, we've been offered big money. Let's get. I know what Mr. B is saying about not trusting the owners and everything else. However, that's another story, and we have to sort of just go with the flow in terms of, you know, moving the team forward. I mean, there are other options that we can go for. We've got Donny there for starters. I'm sure there are other youth players. You know, we've got to give Donny a chance to prove what can he actually do when given enough games. And like you say, with Declan Rice or Ndidi or whoever it may be at the back protecting, you know, we may just get something out of him. But for me, again, we do need to have a conversation about, because if you look at us playing from back up to the centre midfielders, so Bruno, Pogba, you know, then what happens after that is where we've kept saying throughout the season, this is where we're coming up against brick walls. It's kind of like it's like you get towards the end of the puzzle and you're going, oh, all right, well, where does this piece go and where does that piece go? It's that's the end bit there for me. But again, I know 1 second, and again for me though, I think the Pogba is for the sake of the club, just because he has a massive ego. I think he can be a problem for Ole if things don't go his way in the team. You know, he might, if he starts getting a bit unhappy again, and then his agent starts then flapping his gums. You know what I mean? Starts wanting this, wanting that, saying this and saying that. That could be a big problem going forward, and we don't need it.
Right. So,
Big Phil?
just to respond to that, I don't want us going down the exact same road where we had a guy by the name of Cristiano Ronaldo and we haven't replaced him up to now. Let's go even further back. We had a guy by the name of Roy Keane, and we have never had a central defensive midfielder that has been great as Roy Keane since then, right? Mm-hmm. There aren't that much midfielders out there that can do what Paul Pogba does, right? Paul Pogba reminds me of, in this context, I'm just saying he reminds me a little bit about Cesc Fabregas, and I'll tell you why, right? When Cesc Fabregas was at Arsenal, right? Cesc Fabregas used to create a million chances, but it was all about who was in front of him, right? Because he had the likes of Theo Walcott, poor, Adebayor, poor, Nicholas Bentner, poor, right? And I know we don't go much on videos from YouTube, right? But I was watching this video from the tube the other day. It's called is not the exact title of the video, but it's along the lines of this is a video that Paul Pogba lovers should not watch, right? And I was kind of confused as to why, right? Video is about 7 to 10 minutes long. I've seen Paul Pogba give passes to Lukaku, to Martial, to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and they've just skied it over the bar, or they've missed control, or they've placed it wide, right? And I have to tell you, those are about at least 20 to 30 chances over the last probably 2 to 3 years. This is prior Ole, right? It's not Paul Pogba's fault that those guys in front of him are missing those chances. If those guys had to convert those chances, Paul Pogba would finish with at least 10 to 15 assists every single season, right? So it goes back to my original thing where Paul Pogba needs better players around him. You're only as good as your supporting cast, right? And I'll leave it at that. You've just said that Paul Pogba, that Manchester United Football Club looked better with Paul Pogba in the team, right? And you just went to allude and say that the players probably aren't doing their job in front of them, and that's true. They aren't. They aren't. And I ask yourself one more question, right? Mm-hmm. Name me a player since Sir Alex Ferguson left that has been consistent, other than David De Gea.
Ibrahimovic.
Name me one player.
Ibrahimovic.
That was one season,
but he was consistent. Ibrahimovic.
That I'm not going to count that because he was only there for one season. That's all.
But it's good.
Well, we haven't, have we?
Go on.
Sorry. We haven't had one. Sorry, no, we haven't had one really.
Exactly, we haven't had one. Right.
But what do we do then? This is the problem you've got. This is the problem that Ole has got. Is what does he do with looking at this situation? You've got Pogba who can. Like you said, it was like, what did you say? It was about 15 or 20 over like 2 seasons or whatever. That's something right. That's not going to win us the league. However, what's the easier problem to solve here? And what's going to be less harmful to the squad? You know, replacing, because if we're talking about the front line who's not putting the ball in the net, but we're not just talking about one player, are we? We're talking about like 2 or 3. So it's, you know, that's like a bigger problem, isn't it, to solve? And then, I mean, I really don't know, but I just do believe that I think the best option for us is to go, you know what, we can get money for this guy. Let's get him sold, and we can look at the front. We can bring somebody else in that midfield, and we can look at the front, because that is where we're not. Like you say, does it matter if it's Paul Pogba passing the ball to the front line, or does it matter if it's Bruno Fernandes, or does it matter if it's Donny van der Beek, or you know, any other central midfield? Does it matter? It doesn't. As long as if they're putting that ball in the net and they're getting the ball to them, that's what we need. So, but again, they're not doing it on a consistent enough basis. It's quite worrying, really, when we look at now we're looking at it from this angle. You know, this is a bit of an angle that I've not quite sort of looked at before, and it's only having this conversation that has sort of made me look at it from this angle. And it's quite worrying, really, to be honest.
I want to just go ahead. Just to Mr. B, you asked a question when you spoke earlier on, and you said, "What do we expect from Paul Pogba?" You know, and I'll tell you what I expect from Paul Pogba. The type of caliber he is that we keep saying, like, sometimes it's not fair to say the other players are not doing their job, or this. Like, different players have different priorities in the team. Like, he's getting paid this money, and I know money's not everything. He has this persona around him. He's one of the best in the world. Van der Beek ain't one of the best in the world. So we can't say Van der Beek is expected to do the same type of thing as him. Now, what I expect from him is to be able to take games by the scruff of the neck and change these games with us on a more consistent basis because of the type of player he is and how much we're paying him. Like, that's his job. And I'll give you good examples quickly. I'll just give you good examples. One of the 3 of our most important games this season, the final in Villarreal, he completely disappeared. He was not there. He didn't turn up. Final in Villarreal. The other important game against Leicester. Where was he against Leicester? He got taken off because he couldn't make an impact in the game. Because you have to control that midfield. They dominated that midfield. Another game, Manchester City. Okay, Manchester City can beat a lot of teams, so I don't want to put too much pressure on him for that. But again, that game in the Carling Cup, or Carabao or whatever it's called, he didn't turn up again. So that's the only thing I ask for. You are one of our biggest players. I want to see more from you. I want to see you take control of the game. And if you can't do that here, maybe it's because either, like you guys said, there's no players around him, or maybe just the Premier League isn't for you. Maybe you need a slower league where you're able to express your qualities. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
I agree.
That
100%.
Go on Monday.
Yeah. So all right, we're having a good discussion here about it. But what you guys aren't picking up here is that he needs to be managed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He needs to be managed. So we're talking about how much we're paying him and how much you expect from him to turn games around and perform miracles and all that kind of thing. Like he's supposed to be Cantona and do something special and outrageous every game. This kind of thing. There's a lot of comments coming in about there's a lot of comments talking about his inconsistency. For me, he's consistently good. Left foot, right foot, baller, spraying passes, doing his bit. He needs to be managed. Okay, when he was at Juve, he respected the club, he respected the management, he respected the coaches, he respected his players. Now he's playing with a lower caliber player, which is true. Compared to what he was playing with at Juve, he's playing with lower caliber player. Compared to what he's playing with at France, lower caliber player and staff. This is a major issue. So you want this heroic thing to come with a cape and say Pogba's going to save the day just based on his money. You need to manage the team, manage players. Hold on. We had a manager for 25 plus years who was able to do that. Since then, we struggled. So this is why Mourinho even struggled to manage him. Oli can't manage him because we're talking about individual games. Oh, he didn't turn up. Like we're supposed to rely on him. What about the team? What about the philosophy of the team? About what the team's supposed to take us forward? Why are we always picking on one man just because he's paid a lot? Were we saying the same thing about Roy Keane when he was the top earner at the club? Do you know what I'm saying? He was delivering, but he did have bad games too. There's games when he got sent. Hold on. There's games where Roy Keane got sent off, stamping on people, putting us, in the semi-final FA Cup. 2 yellow cards. No one wants to talk about that. Didn't get to play in the Champions League final. Look at our studs up intro. What do we see? It's worse than Graham Souness. It's horrific. It's certificate 18. But no, Roy Keane is the most consistent player and the hero and the leader. What is it you want from people? Come on, guys. If Pogba was to get off, hold on. If Pogba was what we're cussing Pogba about, he didn't turn up, he didn't perform, or whatever. One, he needs to be managed. Okay. 2, we need to realize what the expectations are at the club. For him, it's about the team. It's not just about him performing all the time. Because strikers don't score goals per game unless they're, Pele or something. That's not going to happen. Or Ronaldo or Messi. Do you know what I'm saying? So please start reflecting and look at the management and say, is he being managed correctly? That's the big question out there.
Monday, listen, it's like Solos himself is saying, build a team around Pogba. I mean, can you imagine how much money that would cost? If we're saying that Pogba's like the standout character, but he's not got the team around him, we can't afford to go and replace all what's around him.
Sorry. Can sorry to interrupt.
Hold on.
I just want to clarify. Hold on a minute, Ryan. Sorry, I just want to clarify. I never said about building a team around him. I'm talking about the management of the team and the players. We've got a team there, but it needs to be managed correctly. Hence why all season I am the one who's been saying the team is not flowing. The team is not fluid. There's no philosophy there. That comes down to the management, not Paul Pogba. No. That's the management. So I'm not talking about bringing better players or anything else. I'm talking about the team, everything else, and the coaching must be better.
The coaching, the coaching we agree on. I think we've said we already agreed. I think that Ollie has done or is doing best that he can do in terms of keeping everything about the club. The man management, everything else. It's that coaching bit that's the problem. But even so, with that said, there's been 2 other managers that didn't seem to be able to get the best out of Pogba.
With what players?
Can I?
Two managers that couldn't do it.
Can I say something to that, Rise? As I said, I just think I understand the management side of it. I'm just looking at when you're happy in life, I just think right now Paul Pogba's happy at Man United. The issue I have is the same issue that OLs was talking about, where he said If he's asking for 500,000, he doesn't want to stay
100.
because he wants double his money. He doesn't want to stay. He wants to get rich at our club, and that's the part that is pissing me off. Yeah, it's too much money for me. I'm not saying you have to earn the right. He's on whatever he's on, 280, 300. He's on a lot of money already. Granted, it's ego. It's I'm on this amount of money. They're paying me nearly £500,000. I understand that. Players, there's going to be one player who wants to be the first player to be paid £500,000 a week. Granted, that's an ego thing. But if that is what he wants us to stay, it would probably be cheaper to pay Paul Pogba the £500,000. Because if you think about this, he could leave on a free. And then what happens? He's going to be out of the club, yes, but then we've got no money to spend. So next season now, are we then saying, right, it's Paul Pogba's last season? You already know, come December, the whole world and their granny is going to be signing Paul Pogba. He's not going to have his head on anything other than moving. Regardless of whether it's Raiola doing all the donkey work or whatever, Paul Pogba, every single interview we have, to me, if he's going to sign, he needs to sign virtually. You're talking before the season starts. If not, they have to have something lined up because I said it a year and a half ago. I thought he was going to leave on a free. I had a conversation with a couple of my friends and they said, no, you can't blame Paul Pogba. It's a club situation. The club's been mismanaged. If you've got this asset, this player who is worth this amount of money, and you are going to let him walk the door for nothing, he's going to leave on a free. He's going to leave on a free. The club aren't going to sell him. Raiola's already said to him, mate, look, you know what? Wherever you go now, you're going to get paid 500 grand a week. That's probably why he's asking 500 grand a week for us, for him to stay. It's the same situation for him with Varane. Varane doesn't want to stay at Real Madrid. He's asking for £425,000 a week. He's a defender. Pray God, don't let him come to us and let us be paying him that. But
crazy.
I just think that is what they do to, pay me this and I'll stay. They don't really want to stay. They know the club aren't going to pay him that. But in Paul Pogba's case, I think he's going to leave on a free. He's always wanted to play for Real Madrid. He's done the Juve. He's not going to go back to Paris. And I just cannot see him staying. Me personally, I want him to stay, but he has to sign to stay. So I'm with Rise. If he's not gonna commit, you have to get him out of the club.
What's the point exactly? Go on.
So let's go into a bit more detail, right? What I'm going to mention second is a comment that Rice made with regards to Paul Pogba feeding the strikers, right? He says it's cheaper to get rid of Paul Pogba, but if you're putting cheaper
to keep him because we would have to then spend. Yeah, because then you're going to have to spend. Let's be serious. We might think that Paul Pogba hasn't played played well for us over the years. But what is Paul Pogba worth? Let's be honest.
No, I'll get to that, Mr. B. I'll get to that, right? Because what I'm about to say, I want to know if you guys agree or disagree, right? Now, I'm going to call a few names from across various clubs. I'll call Kai Havertz. I'll call Nicolas Pepe from Arsenal. I'll call, let's say, Jordan Henderson from Liverpool, right? Let's go those three names, right? Now, let's compare those three names to the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Mbappe, Erling Haaland, and Paul Pogba, right? The three names that I called before, those are footballing players. The five names that I called just now, Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, Pogba, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, they are footballing brands. I don't know if you guys get the difference.
Yeah,
right? Because you're paying not just for a footballer, you're paying for a footballer and his brand, right? The amount of attention that Paul Pogba has garnered for being a Manchester United player has skyrocketed Manchester United's revenue. Okay,
you know what? And that's the issue. It's money.
Okay, it's money. A lot of people realize that. A lot of people think they're just paying for a footballer. I don't care what club buys Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe in the next couple of years. They're paying for a footballing brand. Okay,
Phil,
so we
just
have
want
to
to say
pay
one
as
thing.
much money to keep that footballing brand at
I want to
Manchester
say-
United, right?
Let's
just want
go.
to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. It's all right having the football brands and the big name players, all the rest of it. But when we are being, because you check the finances that we're getting from our sponsors, it's massive. Them sponsors are not happy. They need us to do better.
Mhm.
If we don't, we are in risk of losing them or getting reduced monies from them.
Mhm.
The players now are demanding ridiculous amounts of money. It's going to become unviable. For us as a club, we're not going to be able to do it. So this is what I'm saying is, no, you cannot be giving Paul Pogba whatever it is he wants, especially a wage rise, considering everything that we've said about his playing and what he's done for the club. Under Mourinho, where did we get second? Did we get a second, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The league, and we won a trophy. Not good enough.
Mhm.
Forget the Europa League. Don't anyone mention the Europa League to me, because it's a tin pot to a Salford lad, right? Red through and through. My shit is red. I piss red. Everything. Right? Don't talk to me about the Europa effing League. It's crap. It's a shit. I'll tell you what, if I didn't have anywhere else to go to have a dump, I wouldn't even do it in it. That's how bad it is. It's shite. Right? So it's not good enough. And even with Paul Pogba in with them two managers, yeah, we got second, we got a cup. It's not good enough. And again, we've done under Ollie, we got second. I know it's not good enough.
Mhm.
So is he really doing the bits for us that we require him to do? And even more so, is it now worth us paying him an extortionate amount of money when the sponsors are saying to us, yeah, look, you ain't doing what we agreed here. We're losing interest in you because your Manchester City are doing miles better. Leicester City are even doing better performance-wise. People are wanting to watch them. Liverpool are going to be back next season. Chelsea have now got Tuchel. Right, we are in serious risk of going into the shadows here and doing a Liverpool. So, and I'm saying is holding on and paying for a Paul Pogba, it keeps us still. We kind of become static, and we can't do that. We have to keep refreshing and keep moving forward.
And
So
talking about
two things, right? Two things, right? The first thing, because I've been hearing for the last month that Manchester United will not perform next season because Virgil van Dijk is back, and Manchester City will be doing things. It's almost like you guys are looking into your crystal ball and you're going to say, okay, definitely Virgil van Dijk will definitely be fit for an entire 38 games. So that means Liverpool are definitely going to be title contenders. Because after all, Liverpool cannot get any injuries, as we saw last season, right? Everybody's saying that Manchester City is going to do well. They've just lost Sergio Aguero. Kevin De Bruyne is on his last legs. Why isn't every Manchester United fan saying, you know what, Paul Pogba will show up next season, right? We're so focused on saying what other teams are going to be doing well next season, but they're not thinking about what Manchester United is going to do next season. Another thing, no. I'll end off by saying this here as well too, right? Let's go back to 2007, 2008. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, we had a whole bunch of stars, right? The board would have probably told all of the Manchester United players and even Sir Alex Ferguson, these are your expectations. And that's 2007, 2008. Do you really think that those expectations are the same right now for Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Do you think those expectations are the same?
Are they not for you?
No.
They are for me.
They aren't.
They are for me. Yeah, for me.
How can you look at the team in 2007, 2008, 2009, where we had the likes of Rooney, Berbatov, Cristiano Ronaldo? Your expectation with that team is the talent on all fronts.
I think what he's trying to say is that his expectation is the same for the club, but he knows the team we have, we can't do that.
Yeah. And also the fact that we were saying about Liverpool and everybody else is, Phil, just remember, they are on the rise. We are on the fade, right? We've been and done everything that they want to do. We've done it. So they're now looking at us going, wait a minute. Oh yeah, you've done now. Sir Alex has left. You've had 3 managers since. You've done Cockall, right? You've won a Poxy Cup. Right. Okay. Look at these teams now. They're on the rise. These are all the teams now that are attracting all the new fan bases, apart from Man City because they've only got 2. Where we've seen about the protest.
I just want to add Sorry, go on.
No, go on, Solo.
I just want to add to what you were saying, that what you mentioned, Big Phil, about why do we keep talking about, let's say, Manchester City are going to do well next season, Liverpool are going to do well, Chelsea. It's because of evidence. You know what I mean? Like when we look back in the season that's just gone, even though Liverpool supposedly had one of their worst seasons ever, they finished 3-4 points behind us. So, I mean, that's crazy in itself. And this is supposed to be the best season we've had. Hold on one second. So that's Liverpool. And they schooled us when we played them. They destroyed us. It wasn't even close. It was men against boys when they beat us 4-2. I hate to say this, but they schooled us. Man City don't need Aguero. Man City just won the league without Aguero. Man City will probably go and get Kane and take them to another level. So Man City, I know they're more likely probably going to win the league again next season. And then you're talking about Chelsea. They just won the Champions League. We saw the rejuvenation of Tuchel. And Chelsea, I'll give them this. They have a better set of balanced players in their squad, in their team, than we do at Man United. So Tuchel has that. But also he has the tactical knowledge to be able to use these players the best way, whereas Oli can't. So I think that's what I wanted to add. Go on Monday, sorry.
Yeah, good points again. I think what we have to highlight here is that you mentioned Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man City. Now look at their managers. Talk done.
Yeah.
That's my point. I'm going to say it over and over again. That's the main point. Stop. We shouldn't even have a show about Pogba. The show should be, we need to manage our players better. Forget Pogba, sign him a new contract. He's quality, bring him in. The focus on him is because he's a brand, because of all this thing, because we're getting hyped in, we're getting drawn into this media stuff.
You remember?
Look at the managements. Look at the managers, individual managers of these clubs we're talking about, and how these clubs, why these clubs are on rise and progression. And then look at our manager and how they're managing players like this.
You're right.
It's funny because on a couple podcasts earlier in the month, right? We were doing like a Ole in versus Ole out, and when it came to tactics, right? And I mentioned that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer schooled Pep Guardiola in 3 times last season, right? Now, the response to that was, those matches were meaningless, right? The 4-2 that Liverpool put on us, wasn't that meaningless as well?
No, it's not that. When Liverpool play Manchester United, same when Man United play Man City, we're not fighting for anything. The game still has high stakes. I mean, we still have to win those games for the fans. But when you saw the approach, the difference of approach, as Amunde mentioned, he just got outsmarted. He got the tactics, he had it spot on. Man United players looked all over the place. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing, and it looked like the beast of Liverpool we saw from the season before. And Liverpool, the last, I would say, 5, 6, 7 games to the season, they were back. We saw the Liverpool that we all knew. So I'm just touching on the topic that you guys mentioned of why do we talk about these teams as if they're going to do well next season? Nothing to do with the managers or anything like that. The reason why we say it is because of evidence of what we've seen in the last 2 months in the Premier League. Like these guys, when's the last time Man United played good football on a consistent run of games? I can't remember. I personally cannot remember.
You said it's got nothing to do with the management. That has to do. That's everything to do with the management.
Of course, it has.
The reason Liverpool won over the last since Klopp has come in is because of the manager. The reason Pep has taken.
All right, we're going a bit off topic here. We're going a bit off topic here. I am going to go back to my original statement at the beginning of this podcast. I've seen partnerships like Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets for Barcelona. I've seen partnerships with Casemiro, Modric, and also Toni Kroos for Real Madrid. My vision is that if we sign a proper central defensive midfielder and we keep Paul Pogba, there is the potential to have a great trio of that CDM, Paul Pogba, and Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. That's just me, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
I think we should keep Paul Pogba.
Big Phil.
Sorry.
I just want to say something. At no stage this summer have we been linked with a central defensive midfielder.
No, true, but that's my vision, Mr. B. That's right, my vision, right?
I understand what you're saying. We look at France. We say it's Kante. That makes Paul Pogba play how Paul Pogba plays. So are we then saying we need to buy another player to try and keep hold of Paul Pogba? Because we're saying, no, he should go. The ball's in Paul Pogba's court. If he says he wants to leave, he's gonna go. So we're here. We're saying we need to build a team around Paul Pogba. We need to buy this player for Paul Pogba. Well, if Paul Pogba doesn't want to stay, there's no point in buying these players. When I was asking what is Paul Pogba's role in our team, did anybody tell me what his role? We know what Bruno Fernandes' role is. We know what Fred's role is. As bad as it is, we know what his role is supposed to be. But what are we saying Paul Pogba's role in our team is?
I have no idea.
You know, you see, and this is. I understand he's world class. I'm going to come to in a second. I understand he's world class. But he hasn't been world class for us. You look at Bruno in the you look at Bruno in the short time that Bruno's been here.
Yeah.
Bruno's been levels above Paul Pogba.
Bits.
You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with ability. Amonde, I know you want to give me a slap, but it's nothing to do with ability.
I want to talk as well. I want to talk as well.
He's got Paul Pogba has everything. Absolutely everything as a central midfielder. He's got the pace, he's got the skill, he's got the velvet boots, both feet. You know, he can pass left, he can chest the ball. He's got everything.
So what's the problem?
My issue is that everything we don't see enough at Man United. That is the problem that I have. Can we trust to build a team around Paul Pogba when he wants half £500,000.
So it's not £500,000. It's 400,000. Okay, this half a million that you guys are saying is absolutely extortion. Come on.
Okay. So it's 100. We don't even know what those notes are. But okay, fair enough. He's not going to be getting 2 million a month. He's going to be getting 1.6 million. Fine. Yeah, 1.16, whatever he's going to be getting. Yeah. So to me, it's ego. He doesn't need to be paid that money when he hasn't done that for us. He hasn't done that for us. Why are we paying him £500,000 a week? Sorry, Big Phil. £400,000 a week when
it's a gamble.
He hasn't right. So Rise Again is right in a certain extent for me. It's a gamble. And right now, Manchester United ain't good at gambling.
No. We can't afford to gamble.
We're not getting full houses. We're not getting the Jack, Queen, King. We're getting a 5 of spades, a 2 of clubs, and a Jack of diamonds. We're not getting nothing. So this is the issue that I have at the moment. We need to decide what he wants to do, what direction the club needs to go in, and if Paul Pogba is not part of it, for me, I love Paul Pogba. If he stays, I'm over the moon. Trust me. I love Paul Pogba. You see the thing is, I love Manchester United more than I love Paul Pogba.
100%. Exactly.
I think we all do. Yeah.
So if you love Man United more than Pogba, why don't you want him to play? Why are you happy for him to let him go?
Because I think he's going to go. It's not. Right. Listen, if Paul Pogba signs,
as of today, the 25th of June, 2021. I'm saying we should do our best to keep him. That's what I'm saying. I think he's a quality player. You just said all the great things, what he's got. You also said, what is his role? And you said, we don't know his role. He's a central midfielder, okay? Go and watch him against for France. Take France all the way to the title this year. Watch him play. You'll see. Look at the assists that he's doing. He's an unselfish player. You compared him to Bruno Fernandes and the impact that Fernandes had. Fernandes is a number 10. He will create and get stats where you're going to see stats where you can look at it at the end of the season. Oh, wow, he had 13 assists and 12 goals or something like that. That's what you can look at and say, yeah, Fernandes is delivering that way. I'm looking at the game as a whole. We have a talented midfielder. Like you just said, he can do everything on the pitch. Like Glenn Hoddle used to do, he can do everything. We are not managing him correctly, and that is the major issue here. Like I said, going back to the other clubs, Klopp, Pep, Tunso, or Thomas, I can't pronounce his surname, Thomas T, Mr. T, or whatever his name is. These guys would be able to managing their teams better than we are. The issue is Ollie. And for Man United to get to the stage where we got to get rid of, we're in a dilemma here about Pogba. That suggested a lot about Pogba's uneasiness with what he's seeing going on at Man United and what he's seeing coming up against these three big giants, juggernauts, that are going to be kicking ass next season. No doubt. So the main issue here is that he needs to be managed correctly. He's looking at it and saying, why can't, like for me, for example, he's left in the 2 with Kante, yeah? And we're saying, he can't play in the 2. He can't play in the 2 here. He needs to be managed to make sure he can play in the 2. I keep saying he should be the new Vieira. The way he can get back and slide tackle and boss man and weights man, all that kind of thing. He's got it in his locker. He can do it all. So I'm saying keep the guy and get a manager in who can teach and play him to his best of his ability. Because that's clearly not happening here because we're saying it's inconsistent.
Did you really just compare him to Vieira? You said he can be a Vieira.
I said he can be a Vieira.
Did
you see how Pogba defends? You're saying Pogba can be a Vieira?
I believe.
That's disrespect.
Hold on. I'll tell you why. Yeah, because he's got the shape, the physicals. He can't get weights off the ball. All it needs is him to be positionally correct and start distributing like a quarterback, maybe sit a little deeper. We have got the legs going up and down like that, and I think he could play similar to Vieira, as in be that boss man in the midfield and start dominating games from there, not having to go forward so much. That's my point. No, I'm not obviously Vieira's gives you a bit more, as in that, but I'm just saying he's got the same physical attributes and he's got the skill on top of that, where he can dominate games if he had someone with him and a manager who had a shape and a system and a philosophy of play where we could start delivering more.
So then you're agreeing. That's what he needs to do all of this, but he hasn't done that for us.
No. I think it's the manager. What do we pay a manager for? Exactly. We're talking about how much we're going to pay the player. What are we paying his management for?
Exactly.
It's the manager's job to deliver and make these players play well.
Fair enough.
And have a system to fit this player in the system and get the best out of the whole team. That's the manager's job.
But
so don't talk about the £400,000 wages. Pay him. We paid De Gea big money. We paid Sanchez no problem big money. And what's going to happen next season? People will just tease and say, "We'll pay you 500,000, just a little signing on fee." It's nothing to us. Just to say, so why not you give them the money now?
But they have been players under those managers Rise. Under those managers though that have performed. This is my point. Like why is it just one special case for him that the managers haven't been enough? And I agree with you. The managers are not good that we've had. Good. But there have been players that had to come out of that despite the manager bullshit and the coaching bullshit to try and get us somewhere. I mentioned it already before. Ibrahimovic, he expressed.
Ibra's a special case.
Forget about
a special case.
It's still a case.
Let's be real. Ibrahimovic.
Don't let slide, Mr. B. Don't let that one slide.
One each. I'm going to finish right now because I am going to go on Ibrahimovic. Let's be real. Wherever Ibrahimovic has gone, he has performed.
Okay, but that's the type of effect we want on our team from Pogba, no? Isn't that
but you can't use Ibrahimovic. Talk to me about Martial. Talk to me about Martial. Talk to me about Marcus.
No. Martial hasn't been
Talk to me about Fred. Talk to me about Scott McTominay. Those are the guys who have been there in the times of Paul Pogba. Talk to me about Jesse Lingard, Andres Pereira. Those guys. Talk to me about them.
Okay, but Martial has at least had one good season, a full good season with Man United. When he finished,
Pogba hasn't.
What season has Pogba had where is one full season?
I know exactly where this is going to go.
Okay.
And you know what? We have to. This is the Friday polite show. I know exactly what's going to be. That conversation can't be had today.
All right, I just want to say one thing, and it won't be had. I just want to say one thing.
To be a part
Monday, you keep saying that Pogba shouldn't be counted on goals and assists, and I agree with you on that. But why do you keep pointing at the stats of him scoring goals and assisting all the time to prove your point?
Because you're saying he's inconsistent. You just said
inconsistency is not just.
Hold on. I'll answer because you just said that Martial had a good season, and basically as if to say, and maybe I'm getting you wrong, as if to say Pogba hasn't. That's why I've got my notebook, which is turned out to be a bit of paper now. Right? That's why I got it out to prove to you that he's had several good seasons, but because you don't see you're basing Martial's season on stats and goals.
No, I'm not.
Goals.
I'm not.
Because you don't see.
You assume.
All right, enough. I'm getting a round of applause. It's over.
No. You're getting a round of applause from Big Phil. You're getting it from Big Phil. But no. The thing is, you're saying Martial is goals and assists. I'm not doing it on that. I'm talking about his link-up play. I'm talking about the effect that he's had on the game. The way he brings people around him.
Okay, so OS. So you're saying it's not just about the stats. It's about the eye, what you see by the eye, and his link-up. So why can't you use that same measuring stick with Pogba about his link up? I do. Like a comment said here earlier, when he got injured at Everton, Mr. B, you're the expert at this one. When he got injured at Everton, what happened next?
We were dead.
Okay.
I agree. Like I'm not saying he doesn't have an influence on Man United. That would be very silly to say that. Like, if we lose Paul Pogba, we lose a talent at Manchester United. What I'm saying is, for the type of profile he is, the money he gets paid, and the type of the expectancy he has at the club, he's not delivering. He has to deliver to the point where he influences people around him, because that's the role he takes.
Like Bruno.
Bruno came in and he made people better around him straight away.
You know, I believe you got super high expectations for someone who's a central midfielder, and maybe we're not seeing. We don't see everything as we see, because maybe you want to see more goals. Maybe you want him to have a Yaya Toure season or something.
Hold on.
Personally, my thing, just to destroy it, just for my thing, my disagreement with you guys is about the consistency. I think he's been consistently good. It's just that the media and the hype and everything else that you jump on saying, oh, he's got to be this world-class player, and look how much he's getting paid. He's supposed to be doing A, B, and C, and he's not taking United anywhere. This is the thing. I disagree with that. I watch games. I think this guy is probably the best player in the park majority of the time. And I can't think of 5 midfielders in the Premiership, central midfielders, who I would say are better than him.
We need.
I can't think of 5 in the world at the moment who are better than him. And we want to get rid of him because we don't want to pay him too much. Even though we're Man United.
Rise. I'm one day. Rise.
Yeah. Sorry. I think we need part 2 to this, because it's quite a complicated issue. We need to come to an agreement, like, you know, as a group.
The one thing I know we won't do is agree. We've come on here.
Which is okay.
This is the beauty of it. I'll be honest. Do you lot think I'm a Pogba in? A Pogba should be staying, or a Pogba should be leaving?
Pogba should be leaving. Pogba should be leaving.
What, Mr. B, you said a lot, and I actually think you want him to go. I
love Paul Pogba.
I think you want him to stay. You just don't want him to get that fee. This is the point that I'm trying to make. I'm torn. At the moment, we've got 2 in, 2 out. I'm here and I'm thinking, well, I want this for Man United. I want him to be the Paul Pogba that we see playing for France. But I'll be honest, Rise made a point about the pace of the English game. I'm not sure. And I see you shaking your head. You know, some players are built for or are made for certain leagues. I'm really not sure that I want him to prove me wrong. I want Pogba to be that guy who, when you leave the game, you're thinking, right, Kevin De Bruyne, or you're thinking, 100%. You know, he did. You know, to me, Kevin De Bruyne and Paul Pogba can do the same thing. They should be competing against each other.
Right. This is how I see it. You know, and I look at that. Yeah, that's my comparison. That's who I would like to be comparing Paul Pogba to.
Yeah.
And De Bruyne is managed better. He's in a better setup. He's managed by a quality manager.
Can I say something to you?
I'm not Pogba out, by the way. I'm not Pogba out. I'm just saying that I see the faults in him, and I don't want him to live a career where he doesn't win anything at Manchester United, especially when you know the type of qualities this player has. So if he goes to Real Madrid or a Barcelona or wherever he goes and he becomes successful, then that's better for the player. And maybe it's better for Man United. Maybe. We don't know. We're just saying that now because we don't have anything better. But Beckham has left before. We've had Keane leave before. We've had Cantona leave, and we've been okay. So I don't know why it's such
Hold on. When Beckham left, this was like 2001, we just won the Champions League. and we were winning leagues. When Cantona left, we were winning leagues.
Yeah, we were successful.
When Kanchelskis, Hughes, and Ince left, we just won the FA Cup. We won the league. Okay, so at the moment, we're not in that same position.
No.
We've got teams around us who are big dogs out there, ready to
agree.
bite us, and fans ready to bite us. So we need to keep these players, because if he goes on a free, we are the laughing stock.
I agree.
Let him go for cheap, and then we had to buy him for £100 million.
I agree.
Where's that's mismanagement, and mismanagement on him on the field, and mismanagement of him outside off the field as well. He's a quality player. He's one of the best midfielders in the world, no doubt about it. We can have this debate, OS, about whether he's world class or not. I'm ready for you. I've been doing my homework. I'm ready. I'm ready. Whenever you want it, set the date, get the promoter in. We go head to head, but we're gonna do this because I'm done with this Pogba business. Keep the guy, or we're going down. Trust me.
Where did Rise go? I think you upset him. I think you've upset him. I really think you've upset him. Look, gents, we've started this show. We've been talking for an hour.
Wow.
I don't think whatever's said, we're going to be changing our minds, changing our opinions. What I've hoped is that we've given the viewers something to discuss. We've given them... We've given them something to think about other than the same normal. I mean, what I got from it today is that we need Kante to play with Paul Pogba to get the best out of Pogba. And get Deschamps as manager, you know. So it's a difficult decision. I'm going to give each of us, well, you three, and hopefully Rise will come back. Give us a minute on your I want you to sell, Paul. I want you to sell your opinion. We're gonna start with OS. Give me a minute.
Okay. So for me, for Paul Pogba, my biggest frustration of Paul Pogba is he's supposed to have been brought in to change fortunes for us. Now I know I keep hearing we need the right players around him and all of that. Fair enough. I agree with all of those points. But I've watched game after game. Forget about stats for a second. Forget about goals. Forget about assists. Where this guy is a passenger. This guy is just nowhere to be seen when we need him the most. Yes, he can do these amazing passes, cross-field passes. Yes, he can create chances out of nothing. But I want to see that when you play against City. I want to see that when you play in a final, in a cup. I want to see that when you play in the domestic cups.
15 seconds.
It feels like when things come to the point where he needs to deliver, he always goes missing. And that is the biggest problem for me. So do we sell him? Do we not sell him? Okay, my minute is gone.
Big Phil.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, if you look at all the great midfielders of the last 10 to 15 years, right, you know, one of their biggest attributes is to spray passes, right? So Paul Pogba is doing nothing different than to what other great midfielders have been doing. Pirlo, Scholes, Modric as well, too. We have a world-class player in Paul Pogba, right? I honestly think that the team should be built around him once we get the right personnel. Could be a new manager, could be Ole looking to educate himself on certain stuff, could be a central defensive midfielder. I definitely think that once he has the supporting cast around him, he will perform better, right? And the environment at Manchester United is getting less toxic. That
15 seconds.
Yep. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and we should keep 400,000. I'm good to go, man.
All right. Great stuff, guys. He's gifted. We're a big club. Shouldn't be an issue about paying in the money because we are a big club. We're not like Liverpool who work on net spend and talk about, misers with their money. Oh, God, they're going nowhere. They don't spend big. Their big signing is what, 30 million for the little defender recently. They're going back to type. It's just they got lucky. So we're a big club. We can pay the wage. He's one of the best players in the world, best players in the Euros. We're watching him now. We're witnessing it. The media as well, there's a lot of hype. This is where we get comments like Gemma talking all the time about, oh, he's this, he's that, is that. They love to hate on him because he's a brand. And it's like, it makes you infamous, So it's good. Any news is good news in that respect. So Pogba is one of these players that does divide opinion, but he's still a great, great player. And I think the reason is the
And
real
second.
issue is poor management of the club, which is no one can doubt. We've all agreed that there's better managers than us in Klopp, Pep, and Thomas T.
You're done. You lot did well. You lot kept the 3 minutes nice. You lot kept the 3 minutes nice.
It's your minute now.
It's never gonna be what we want it to be with Paul Pogba. There's always gonna be an agreement. There's always gonna be. You see it, yeah. You saw it, yeah. If you're liking the content, hit that like button.
You can't take it, man.
Hit that
Liverpool
subscribe
supporters,
button.
Liverpool, you know? You got it,
Silent until you mentioned Liverpool. But that's gems all over. I'm glad you're watching.
I
Thank
gave it
you.
a
I
bait
hope
and
you
look
hit the
at her
like.
now.
Hit the like. Have a subscribe.
Jess made some good points though in the comments, but anyway.
Listen.
Don't big her up. Don't big her up, man. Her chest will swell up. She need a new bra.
Gents, it was another good one. We've
Great
hit our
hosting,
mark.
by the way. Great hosting.
Thank you very much. We've hit our mark.
Solo might be on the sub bench from now. Probably he's in the background looking on. Send him on a free transfer.
we can give him to the armory. We can give him to the armory. I think on Monday, I think this is gems for you, mate. She's gonna knock your head off with them.
She's Liverpool with a tile. That's why she won't come on the screen, because she's got bigger chest than Phil. Big Phil.
Anyway,
she got both Mary Kay and Ashley. Holy.
Listen, before this conversation hits the gutter, I'd like to say goodbye from me, from OS, from a Monday, from Big Phil, and from Rise, wherever you may be, big man. Thank you for your input.
And all the comments as well.
All of the comments. We didn't get to go through them. I understand that. That's probably my fault. What I did do, I showed them. You know? So yeah, to match. Oh no. Gemma's going in on you.
Did she say about my head?
Yes, she said you need a. She said you need a. I'll tell you what, you can read it.
Exactly.
You know what? Let's just keep it nice and simple here.
Right.
Somebody already cussed her out in her own group today or something, So she's a ban somebody. So she's probably come here looking for some retribution. It's not going to happen, You're a big chest away.
Save it for the group. Save it for the group. As again, we're gone. We are gone. We are gone. Thank you. Peace out. Great show, gents.